for example, in which case my system's not to blame. Or if they, for some reason, were totally ignoring the advice I'd given them in their training and have turned into a fuckwit therapist who charges like somewhere between £50 to £100 a session in England, which is kind of the average rate in England, and if you're charging that, you're fucking the business up for other people. Well, you're not, because people who understand marketing, advertising, publicity and promotion, the cream rises to the top and you'll be able to position yourself as above the rest, which makes it even easier for you to get results. Generally speaking, though, it'll be totally different. It won't be hypno stuff. It'll be like, I might have had reflexology, aromatherapy. It just gives you a bit of leverage, something you can mention and say, oh, I see you've tried aromatherapy and reflexology before. It's bollocks. It's so that you look like you give a shit. Maybe you do give a shit. If you do, good luck to you. I'm just very good at pretending that I give a shit. It gives me something to talk about, so I don't have to make it up off the top of my head in front of them. Number 16. If you think I'm being tongue-in-cheek at the minute, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. 16. Have you got any questions for me or anything else which you feel I should know about in order to be able to help you most effectively? If they've got questions, I probably won't fucking answer them anyway, because they'll forget they've asked them. Unless it's something like the classic, I'm not going to end up clucking like a chicken or barking like a dog, am I? In which case, I will handle it the way I told you yesterday or the day before and tell them, we can do that if you want, but it's going to cost you more money. So, either you give me some more money, then we can do the dog barking and chicken clucking stuff, or we could just use the time you paid for so that you can leave here the confident, happy, healthy, relaxed non-smoker that you booked the session for. It's up to you. Which do you want? And of course then, they in their heads think you could do it, so they're attaching even more power and prestige to you, but they feel safe that you're not going to do it. Yeah. So, the second questionnaire, this is one that I modelled. Okay, and I use the term model because in NLP it's just a nice way of saying copied or stole. From television life coaches, the Speakmans, because they used this during their first and only specifically aimed at other therapist training event, which I promoted, organised and convinced them into doing years back. And then the second event they ever did after that was one that was aimed, some therapists came, but it was more aimed at the general public, which is the kind of things that they do now. So there was only ever one event. So in the world there only exists there's probably about 40 sets of DVDs on this planet only. Because only people who were actually at that event ever got a set of the DVDs of the event of them teaching therapists their methods. And as you'll notice on magicalguru.com, on the therapy page, I am one of literally a handful of probably only a couple of dozen therapists in the world that is a Speakman qualified visual coding displacement therapist, VCDT. They've now changed the name of it slightly into schema conditioning psychotherapy or schema conditioning displacement therapy. But ultimately, one of the main techniques they used was originally called visual coding displacement therapy. I'm one of only a couple of dozen people qualified in it. You see, I've got the diploma on my site, and I can tell you categorically that I've renamed it Visual Confusion Disorientation Technique, VCDT, because it's just a combination of different ways of getting somebody to look at a watch that's moving around, blink their eyes, move their eyes around, and a whole bunch of other shite, similar to what I covered yesterday. Although if you do want to learn it in more depth, I do have a full course on visual confusion disorientation technique in my online store, which you can buy for about $100. Or of course, you get it free inside the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp. Okay, questionnaire number 2. The one that's largely modelled on them. And some of this is repeated from the other, but it's left in purposely. Because if they refuse to answer it, I will go mad at them. in a frank, thoroughly provocative therapy manner. They have to be put in their fucking place, especially if they're celebrities who need bringing down a notch, so that you're the authority figure, so that the magic wand can be waved, so the magic voodoo and lucky juju can take place. Because that's all it is, placebo triggering bullshit. Your current life. In order that we may work with you to your maximum potential, please give us some background information on your life today. The following questions will prompt you. What events, people or experiences have contributed to make you the way you are? Please be specific. Include events and people that have had a significant impact upon you. And then there's a column for positively and a column for negatively. Next question. What are your biggest personal? Column for successes, column for failures. If you were going to attempt anything right now and you knew that you couldn't fail, what would it be? What are your biggest regrets in life? That's good for ramping up pain at the right times. What dreams and ambitions did you have when you were younger? That's good for making them feel like shit because they didn't do something about it, or for giving them hope for the future that those things, you could use it in different contexts. What thoughts, themes, desires do you have now? Thoughts, dreams, or desires rather. Sorry, not got my glasses on. Please list the things that you would rather not have in your life right now. Please list the things in your life that you really appreciate. Please list qualities that you value and really appreciate about yourself. Please list any ways that you limit your success. Please list any fears or phobias that you have. And is that it? Oh no. What are your current expectations of coaching stroke therapy? What current challenges do you want coaching stroke therapy to assist you with? What is the main thing that you wish to change about yourself? What would happen in your life if you didn't make the changes you require at the consultation? Please make a list of all the negative things that could potentially happen in your life if you do not change this behaviour now. We can use that as pain of, if you leave here and don't do X, Y, Z positive things, then you will be this and this, and feed all the stuff to them they've already got an emotional connection to that will prove so painful that it motivates them to stop doing the shit they were doing and start doing the stuff they need to do. Yeah? Please make a list of all the ways that you live, that your life will improve for the better when you have accomplished the changes that you require now. Positive future pacing, anchoring, visualisation, stuff they already appreciate, the benefits of doing it, so we can ramp that up. The pleasure scale that we talked about, pain and pleasure thing. Finish the sentence and write the very first thing that comes to mind. Life is a blank. Then, what is your most reoccurring thought? And finally, list your top 10 outstanding successes, e.g. passing driving tests, getting a degree, getting married, having a baby, etc, etc. All of these things are partly to make it look like you're doing some sort of proper clinical process. It gives credibility, it's adding to the ritual. They're also starting to externalise and think about things they may not have done in the past, and they'll start to see things differently. They literally will when it's in front of the face. Not just a metaphor therapeutically, it genuinely will elicit emotions and states within them, if you want to call them that. What time are we on? Have I got time before the break to teach CMT? Probably not, so I'll tell you the finer points and then after the break I'll teach you the structure. So the questionnaire, you get all the information, and as I say, one of these will have been written in blue ink, one in black, one in block capitals, one in cursive writing, both sent back through the post via sign for delivery. If none of that is done, or one of it's not done correctly, they lose their deposit and they have to pay again if they want to see me, and they've agreed to that and entered into a legally binding contract of agreement by doing so, because it's my way or the fucking highway. If they believe I'm the person who can help them, then they have to do it my way when I say that it's going to be done. That's why they will take time off work, throw a sickie, find someone to pick the kids up from school or whatever. And I've had people travel, trust me, they will. You've just got to have the confidence of your convictions to carry this through. You know, I've had people travel from Scotland, Wales, Ireland. I'm in Greater Manchester, England. I've had people fly in from India, America, Norway? No, Sweden it was. Sweden, Germany and other places around the world to come and physically see me for a session. Now the reason they did that is because of the way I market myself, but you'll be able to do that potentially after tomorrow's session when you get off your arse and do certain things. But it's also because I make it quite clear that their only other option, could I refuse to do online sessions then? These days I would give them the option of an online session, but I would charge them a premium for it, okay, rather than less. Some therapists out there charging less because they're doing it online rather than people coming into the office. I think that's fucked up logic. It's still taking the same amount of your time, yeah? You're still the professional, and if you tell people that it's just as effective as if they were in the room with you, and they believe you, and your marketing's right, and you've done everything else I talk about right, then why should you be charging less? If anything, you should be charging more because you're giving them the convenience of not having to drive, take a train or a plane to get to you, to not have to, you know, find a parking place and all that nonsense. If anything, it attracts a premium. Start thinking differently. So they've done the questionnaire. You've got all that information. You've got your leverage. That's going to be the leverage that's weaved into the session. They show up on the day of the session. You welcome them. Hi, Mr. Johnson. Or is it okay if I call you David? Because his thing says his full name's David Johnson, for example. And he'll go, David's okay, yes. 99.9% of the time. If they don't, you know you've got a cunt of a client. In which case, it's up to you how you handle it, but I'd be kind of, I'd probably turn around to them, it's only happened once or twice, and say, oh, that's a terrible shame. Because I always find that the therapeutic process between myself and my clients always works better and lasts longer for them when they're actually prepared to relax a bit with me and get on friendly terms. But if you want to take the risk of this not working, and I kind of put it back on them. So they have to consciously agree to it. But generally speaking, that won't be an issue, but that's what I'd do if they did. So they've agreed to let them call them David. And then I follow it up with, oh, excellent, cheers, David, shake them by the hand or whatever. By the way, is that what your family and friends call you? And this is where you find out the instant rapport thing I told you about. They might call him Dave, Davey, Barry the Pirate. Don't know why when he's called David, but God knows, everyone's got their own story. And once he tells you that, you go, oh cool, is it okay if I call you that? And he's kind of obliged to say yes, because you've already made it clear about, you know, it helps the process. When he says yes consciously, he's allowing himself to put you on the same level of trust and rapport as his close family and friends. And that's all you need to do to get rapport. Any other level of rapport should be what they call awe rapport, that they're in awe of you because you've got the mystical power of hypnosis that you can knock them out, reprogram their mind, let them leave that baggage behind in your office, and they can leave. Cured! Praise the Lord! That's effective. You never verbalise this because you'll seem a bit weird if you do. It's between you and me, okay? But that's what's really going on. I mean, you don't verbalise it to them unless you want to get into the realms of being an evangelical preacher. And then effectively you fucking do, because that's what they do all the time. Allegedly. It's alright, I didn't mention any names there, did I? So no one in particular can sue me. Which reminds me of a film, Leap of Faith. Excellent film, well worth watching. Starring Steve Martin, the comedy actor, where he plays a fraudulent evangelical preacher. Is there any other kind? But no, seriously, he plays a fraudulent evangelical preacher doing the whole healing shit, But using all the tricks, like, you know, somebody comes in that's got a bit of a walking stick, walking a bit slow, and one of his assistants will go up and go, it's all right, I'll push you to the front, one of the best seats, and gets them to sit in a wheelchair and wheels them down. No wonder he can fucking cure them when he says, the Lord says you now can stand up. Of course they can stand up. They could always fucking stand up in the first place. But the audience perceive it as, this guy was in a wheelchair, now he's walking. Praise the Lord, it's a miracle. No, it's bullshit. It's stage management, and it's psychology and deception and fraud. That's what it is, my friends. Anyway, in this film, the policeman in one of the towns where he's gone figures that it's fraud and confronts Jonas Nightingale, which is the character Steve Martin plays, confronts him. There's no one else around. He said, look, there's nobody else around. You're a fraud, aren't you? This is all a trick, a scam. And Jonas Nightingale, that's the character of Steve Martin, leans forward in this cafeteria, cafe place where there's no one else, and he says, because the policeman said, you're not real, are you? He said, maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. But what's it matter just so long as the job gets done? Now, I'm not advocating fraudulent evangelical preachers who prey on the vulnerable. I'm definitely not, because they take it way, way, way too far, you know, blatantly taking people's life savings off them, who've got terminal illnesses, and all manner of stuff that we don't need to go with. But the underlying principle ties in with what I've been telling you about. Does it matter what level of trickery we use? They're guaranteed to move further than they did. Or the 0 to 10 ploy I taught you yesterday, where they're guaranteed to give a low number, so they come to believe that a definite change has taken place. Or the phraseology such as prove to yourself you've done it right, so the hand's stuck to a wall, or their eyelids are locked, or whatever. We know it's trickery, but we're using it with positive intent to help the client change their state of mind and perceptions and beliefs so that they get the outcomes they want. In which case, yeah, maybe some of it's trickery, maybe some of it's real, like we'll cover in the session structure after the break. But what's it fucking matter as long as they get their outcome? As long as they stop smoking, or they lose weight, or they gain confidence, or they overcome their phobia, or they live their life better with a renewed sense of confidence and not dwelling all the time about, oh, Uncle Bertie bummed them at the birthday party when they were 5. As long as they get the outcome they want, excellent. Does it matter how we got them there? No. If we've done it as rapidly, safely, or I would argue ethically and morally as possible. Rather than dragging it out over multiple sessions and without having them to have to talk too much about. It's one thing getting people to write down the worst things that ever happened in their life in the privacy of their own home where they feel totally safe, putting it in an envelope and sending it to you as the perceived credible expert, and you tell them that's another reason why you want it sent signed for delivery, so it's secure in the mail and doesn't get lost. It means that you appear more caring as well. You're attaching importance to their feelings, making them feel special and loved, and all those things we've already talked about. All of these things, I'm explaining thought processes that actually take milliseconds, but it is what's going on behind the veil inside their head. They may not be consciously aware of it, but using these ploys, strategies, techniques, and scenarios gets them where we need them to be for them to get what they want, which I would hope you would agree is ethical. Okay. So, as I say, after the break, I'm going to go through the complete mind therapy session and explain how it links in with those questionnaires. But ultimately, that's to give you leverage on the pain and pleasure scale, the positive, negative, and all that we covered yesterday. So you'll have to refer back to that as well, obviously. Quickly, before the break, I'll just mention some of the little, what I call the important seeming ritualistic processes. Yesterday I covered the eye movement with the torch or the finger, so-called EMDR. I covered havening, the nice, release the oxytocin, rub yourself, feel good, the beach, the lawn, the steps, and the eye movement nonsense. I covered complete mind tapping, spectacles, testicles, wallet and watch. Another one that I will quite often use for media scenarios, Because for one-to-one therapy or online or group sessions, I always use complete mind therapy. But for the media, like I said, as we'll discuss more tomorrow, you don't have much time with them backstage. So I use things like the tapping or the eye movement with the torch or the hugging shit. It doesn't matter what the process is in the middle, because I've used the 0 to 10 ploy to bookend it at the start and the end. You know, you can make shit up yourself. You really can. Why not? Most hypnotherapy trainers out there have. So they can rip you off for things that only work because of what I've taught you already. And that's not tongue-in-cheek. That's fucking true. Okay, I use the dials and control room, which we briefly mentioned about the control room. Dave Alman technique of turning off all the little muscles around the eyelids. I won't repeat that. You can watch it in the previous video. However, what I will tell you is, use some common sense. You can alter that. You can have them go into see the door in their mind, okay, with their eyes closed, see the door, and tell them that that door will take them to their head engineer. That's weird language, because is it an engineer inside their head, or is it the top level head engineer? Ambiguous language that can help layer up that confusion and disorientation, which will keep them consciously occupied, allowing critical faculty analytical area bypass, thus meaning direct communication with the unconscious subconscious mind, which is arguably the closest thing you're ever going to get to so-called hypnosis. Because that's what you want to do, reprogram the personal laptop computer. So you can have them imagine that this is a door to the control room in the mind, and that inside they see the head engineer, and their head engineer knows exactly which of the dials, buttons, levers, switches or controls. And I say all of them in a way that feels right for you, so that if they imagine some other weird way of turning things on and off, they can do. So they've got a level of, so they are metaphorically taking control of this. They're starting to make decisions. But they need to ask the head engineer which of them. So in their mind they might be thinking they're all buttons, or they're all switches, or they're all dials, or they're all levers, or they're all sliders, or a combination of them. It's whatever feels right for them because of what we said. And because we started, you know, it's almost as if, in a way that feels right for you. Refer back to the previous video. You should see it layers up now, it comes together. And the head engineer will point you in the right direction of that dial, switch, lever, control, or slider, or whatever that feels right for you, that he tells you is the one that controls your cravings for sugary or fatty foods. Or it could be the one that controls the fears that have held you back in the past when you got shit scared seeing a spider. Or it could be the one that makes you feel nervous about talking in front of groups of people because it's currently switched off. And if it was switched on, your public speaking switch or dial, you know, if it was turned up to full positive power, it wouldn't bother you, worry you or concern you as it once did in the past. So find that correct switch, dial, button, lever or control in your mind's eye in a way that feels right for you. Take a few moments to do what you need to do so you know that it's switched, and this is where you use your common sense. If they're doing something they shouldn't be doing, then they need to turn that power off or that switch off, yeah? If they're not doing something they want to do, let's say they're currently scared of public speaking, then they need to switch on the confident public speaking switch. Or if you're really wanting to amplify the ritualistic process, you can have them switch off the fear of public speaking switch and switch on the confidence in front of people talking switch. Yeah? Personally, I just use them on, but you could use both if you wanted. And then I say to them, in your mind's eye, just imagine in a way that feels right for you, locking, gluing, welding, cementing, bolting or fixing positively and permanently that switch that you've just altered, or that dial or that lever in a way that feels right for you, positively and permanently in the place it now is, so it can never return to the way it once was in the past when it used to bother you, or when it didn't enable you to do what you can now do and continue to do from this moment forward, so-called future pacing. I hope that makes sense. It'll make even more sense when you watch it back. Every single word I'm saying has a relevance. And if you want to understand the relevance of why I phrase things certain ways, you don't need to, because I've scripted it for you with Complete Mind Therapy. But if you did want to understand it and take the skills to the next level, you've got a choice. You can go on an NLP course and then a Master Practitioner course and a Trainer course somewhere and spend thousands of pounds and you'll just about have an idea. Or you can join the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp and you'll end up knowing more than pretty much 99% of the therapists out there in the bloody world today, except for the ones that I've taught, obviously. Because nothing comes close. And I will blatantly state names. Mike Mandel, if he was in England, I'd have his advertising closed down. No offence to Mike Mandel, lovely guy, originally from England, out in Canada or America, one of the two, Canada I think. But his blatantly adverts are popping up on social media. The world's most comprehensive online hypnosis training library. I call Billy bullshit. He's not got anywhere close to a fraction of what's inside the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp. And that's just the material that features me. There also happens to be in the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp training from 16 other world-class experts, including from, if you feel it's important that you learn your NLP techniques from an officially licensed Richard Bandler NLP practitioner, then Richard Haggerty's your man. It's 28 days to hypnosis success training, which comprises over 50 hours of training videos and would sell as a course on its own normally. If you got it off Richard for over £1,000 sterling and it's worth every bloody penny of it, is in the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp. Yours free. One-time membership to the bootcamp, you're in for life. Madness. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a rant there or sound like I was just advertising blatantly. But the fact is, I've only got 2 or 3 minutes to the break. And I want to explain CMT in one go without breaking. Because when you do it with a client, you do it as one thing, one session. You don't go, hey, let's have a brew break part way through. So actually, with that in mind, even though it's only 9:25 on my laptop clock, we're going to have the break early. So today we're going to stop now for 15 minutes and we're going to start at 22 rather than 1:45, which is great because that'll give me an extra 5 minutes in the second half. Because today I want to, before we finish, have taught you the actual structure, what you do with the client after they've returned the questionnaire, after you've done the rapport stuff, what they do when they walk through the office door or a pop-up on your Zoom or Skype or other video platform connection. What you do with them before saying, ta-ra, goodbye, good luck in life, let me know how you're getting on regularly, please do send videos and testimonials and photos and all that and send loads of clients this way, and for everyone you do I'll give you a nice cash backhander, but we'll cover more about that tomorrow. So with that in mind, 15-minute break, see you back here at 22. Please feel free to talk amongst yourselves, and I'm sure Stuart will confirm what I said before about, you know, clients not having turned up who paid me in advance and me ending up in the pub early spending their money. And incidentally, just to finish, the fact is that I did eventually get hold of those clients. It's happened a few times, and they said, oh, I didn't bother showing up because I'd already stopped smoking a couple of weeks before I was due to come and see you, so I didn't see the point of travelling from Scotland. And I'll explain how I did that. That wasn't an accident, because the way I deal with smokers, most of them do stop before they ever come to the session anyway. Break time.